Teacher and Angel Moses also.
Okay.
Teacher,
Yali and yes.
teacher, me, Aranza, and Eduardo.
No!
Oh my God, don't you dare to do that.
He's mine, sorry. I want to make it Eduardo.
Okay, this has been interesting. Genesis, what were you saying?
Me and Aranza.
Okay, Genesis and Aranza. Mandisa, you're gonna work with whom?
Eduardo.
Okay, the rest of you?
I'm gonna work with Nassim.
That's Sarah and Nessim. Okay. Natalie, Mary, Adrian. Hello? Do you want me to form your groups? Because we could do that too. You won't like it, but we can do that. Adrian, Natalie, Mary Foster. People, I don't have all day. We need to move on to thing number 2. And we got 3 things.
Teacher, I will work with Isabella.
Okay, so that's Natalie and Isabella.
I think I'll work with Adrian.
Mary Foster and Adrian. We're missing one person. This group has 17 students. Who's missing?
Rebecca.
Oh, Rebecca. Okay, so who's gonna adopt Rebecca? Hello? Anybody adopting Rebecca?
Me.
I'm already working, so I can do with her too. I'm working with her.
Okay, so Sarah, you're gonna work with Nessim and Rebecca, yes? Okay, so that's thing number 1. A 2-minute movie, completely done on Zoom. It can either be horror or a comedy. 2 minutes, people. Don't upload it to YouTube. I'm gonna compile all of them and make one big happy movie. So then you send me the movie itself. If it's short, it shouldn't be any problem uploading. And that's for November 17th. Okay, before we move on to thing number 2, ask me 2 questions. Everybody gets 2 questions. What are your 2 questions? About this project. What are your questions? Hello?
Are there any kind of, topics or something?
I gave them twice. Where were you? Suggestions. Suggestions, doctor-patient appointment, out on a date, ordering food, 911 call, asking for directions, speaking to a repair call center, talking with your deaf grandma or grandpa, and an interrogation for a murder with a murder suspect. Since it's Zoom, both people are not going to be in the same location. So it would work easiest for you if you do this like some kind of interview. If you don't want to do interview and you get really creative, that's perfectly okay. Okay? Yes? Okay. 2 questions. Who else?
So I have a question.
Yes.
So it's on Zoom, but does it have to be like specifically focused on like the camera, or can it be like a shoulder looking at the computer type of like thing?
Yeah, I don't really mind as long as I see your face and hear your voice.
Wait, so we have to perform in Zoom, but send an extra video to you.
No. You just Sign up for Zoom, it's free. Do your movie, record it, and send me the recording. At the bottom of your Zoom screen, when you open up your own, when you have your own account or you just sign up for a meeting, it gives you the option of recording. How do you think I record all the classes? So then you use that and you record your movie, and that's it. When you're done, Zoom sends you the recording, and then you send that to me. Go and get acquainted with Zoom, people. Become Zoom's friend. It's actually fun. Now,
I have another question before we continue.
yes,
Can it be edited, or does it have to be like the raw product?
I don't understand. Repeat.
Can we edit the video beforehand, or?
Yes, of course. But you have to, because you have to show me the screen with the name of the video and the people. So once you get it from Zoom, Zoom usually sends you the recording immediately as soon as you finish the meeting. Okay, it sends it to your computer. And then you get it and you edit it. And it's actually really easy to edit. Any other questions? And when you have your nicely edited video with all the information I want, and all the, what you call these things, filters that you want to put on them, then you send me that. And I'm going to compile them. Okay? Any other questions? Okay, people, so that's November 17th. Yes? Good. That's thing number one. Thing number two, if you take a look at your weekly outline, question number 4, I don't know what happened to me, but I wasn't there. Just eliminate question number 4. Okay? So eliminate question number 4 from your weekly outline, from the assignment that you're supposed to be turning in these 2 weeks. Eliminate question number 4. Question number 4 needs to be eliminated. Okay? So you just answer the first 3 questions. We're actually going to discuss question number 4 as it should have been written today. That's thing number 2. And thing number 3 is, let's get into the class. In chapter 13, something really terrible happens. Basil goes to visit the beautiful Dorian, and he goes to give him some advice. He goes to try to tell Dorian that, you know, you're doing really bad things. Why don't you stop that? Your friends don't really want you anymore. You've changed. You're a bad person. And what happens is that while he is speaking, Dorian starts telling him about how every evil thing that he's doing, all these evil acts, he is not suffering the consequences, but the picture is suffering the consequences. And so they end up going into the schoolroom, and again, the schoolroom is extremely important. They end up going into the schoolroom so Basil can take a look at the picture. And while they're in there, and Basil sees how horrible the picture now looks with all the evil that Dorian has been doing, Basil tries one more time to get Dorian to change his mind about his behavior. And long story short, Dorian kills Basil and leaves him inside the schoolroom and goes to sleep. Okay, let's analyze that particular part for a moment. What do you think made Dorian so angry, so filled with hatred at Basil? Now, before you answer, think about yourself and how it makes you feel when somebody, whether an adult or somebody your age, comes to you and starts telling you, oh, you gotta change, you can't behave like that, life's too short, you're gonna burn in hell, behave better, blah, blah, blah. How does that make you feel? and then tell me what was it that made Dorian get so filled with hatred towards Basil. Go.
Okay, so personally, I'm not gonna say I hate, but I don't like when people tell me stuffs like that, like, oh, you have to do this, you have to do that to be a better person, you have to behave, you have to be a lady, whatever. So when people tell me these things, I am always like angry with myself and with the people, because it makes me believe that I'm not good enough. But also I try to ignore them, because I know I'm not like that, and well, it's my life and I do whatever I think it's good. So I think Dorian has like this peso on him, the guilt and all of those things. So all of those things that Basil was trying to tell him made him more angry with himself, and it makes it feel more guilty about the things he was doing, and that's what gets him to kill Basil. I don't know.
One more person? Analyze it from your perspective of how you feel when people try to correct you. Mandisa, what is this? When people try to correct you, or when people try to get you to behave better, or to change, or to be a better person. One more person, tell me, how does that feel? Come on, people, because it gets worse. So that means that all the rest of you, somebody comes and says, you have to change. If you want to go to heaven, you have to be a better person. You're all like, oh, yes, I'm going to do that. Is that what you're telling me?
And my first reaction is to very analyze what the person is trying to tell me, because I cannot be like in completely negation of what the person is telling me. So I analyze what I'm doing, and then if I agree with the person, I'm like, okay, I did that wrong. But if it was completely wrong what the person is telling me, I know that I accept it. Like, okay, I won't hear this person too much. Like, I know he's or he is telling me something that I am not. But I mean, I won't react that angry as Dorian Gray did. But I think he was angry because he know that was the truth, and he don't want to listen to that.
So what is it that makes us so angry when somebody tells us the truth? Because what Basil was telling him was not a lie. I mean, it was the truth. What was it that made him so angry? Okay, so what happens next? Dorian goes to sleep. Now, Basil had gone to visit Dorian because he wanted to say goodbye, because he was going to Paris. When Basil went to Dorian's house, the servant saw him, but Dorian wasn't home. After waiting for a while, Basil decided to go because he needed to catch his train to Paris. And so he told the servant, okay, when I get to Paris, I'm going to get in contact with Dorian. I'm going to write him. So according to the servant, Basil had left. After Dorian killed him, he went outside, came back inside, rang the doorbell, woke up the servant, and the servant said, oh, Basil was here waiting for you, but he had to catch a train and go to Paris. Okay? So this, even though he might not have planned it, it was not premeditated, immediately, because Dorian was a brilliant man, he figured out a way to get an alibi. So what happens the next morning is that he wakes up and he calls a friend who used to be his friend before. He was a chemist. Now, all of you have taken chemistry classes or not at some point. Why do you think Dorian Gray is calling a chemist? There's a dead body upstairs in the unused classroom. Why do you think he needs a chemist? What do you think he's going to do with the chemist? You people don't watch enough murder movies, don't you? You don't watch murder movies. You should.
What is that?
Get rid of the body.
Make the body disappear, okay? So one thing you can do is take the body and dump it somewhere. But of course, Dorian is not going to do that because he might run the risk of somebody seeing him. So he calls this guy whose name is Alan Campbell or something like that, who used to be his friend. And when the friend comes, he tells him, oh, there's a dead body upstairs. I want you to get rid of it. And of course, the friend says, no, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to be involved in it. And so Dorian tells him, and this is what's called blackmail. Oh, if you don't do it, I'm going to tell everybody that secret that you have. Now, the book does not mention what the secret was. It just says that Dorian tells him, I'm going to tell your secret. And immediately Alan Campbell agrees. So we don't know what the secret was, but it had to be something big. So Alan Campbell sends the servant back to his house to get all the materials that he needs. He locks himself up inside the schoolroom. And by the time he's finished, the body is disappeared. And there's a scent of, I think it was nitric oxide or something. There's a scent of chemicals in the room, but there's nobody. And Alan Campbell leaves. He never shows up in the story again. Now, of course, Dorian is never going to let anybody find out that he did this. And what's even worse is that now the painting, the hands on the painting are red, like they have blood on it. So the painting, even though nobody knows what happened, the painting is reflecting even that part of what Dorian Gray did. So let's go back and let's analyze the schoolroom. What is so important about the schoolroom? What does the schoolroom represent?
His innocence.
His innocence. Okay. What else?
For me, it represents his mind.
Mm-hmm. What else? Come on, people, think. What else does it represent?
His behavior. Did someone listen to me? His behavior.
You said his behavior, but there's this thing happening behind you that's very distracting. Your house is so filled with amazing sounds.
Secret.
Secrets.
His secret room, like a way to cover what he really is or what he's trying to do.
Okay. So then that brings us to the discussion of Puritanism versus hedonism. As I mentioned in the previous class, Puritanism was a belief system that a lot of churches still hold even to this day. And this was something from the 1700s. And then on the other extreme, we have hedonism. Now, let me tell you the 5 foundations of Puritanism. The first one is predestination, meaning that God only saves a certain group of people that he likes. So everybody does not have access to salvation. The second one is total depravity, meaning that we are so bad that there's absolutely no way that we can ever be good. The third one is limited atonement, meaning that there's a certain amount of things that you can do to become a better person or to please God. You cannot please God easily. It's hard to please God. The next one is irresistible grace, meaning that if God decides to save you, there's nothing you can do to be unsaved. And the last one is perseverance, which probably means that you're you have to continuously do all the things that you need to do to be able to please God. That's Puritanism on one side. On the other side, we have hedonism. And hedonism means that your life is completely about seeking pleasure and avoiding suffering. So you do anything that needs to be done to find pleasure and to not suffer. Now, these are two extremes. But do you think that they're complete opposites?
I don't think they're complete opposites because hedonism does not imply a lack of, well, respect and that kind of like whole vibe of being good, because you can be good while also seeking pleasure. It depends on what you want to do. Because if killing people brings me pleasure, then of course that's bad and that's not Puritan. But if I find pleasure in having a family and, I don't know, going to school, then that's gonna be the hedonist way for me.
Okay, good answer. Do you think that being hedonistic means that you're being selfish? Because the extreme hedonism is completely about seeking pleasure and avoiding suffering. Would that make you a little selfish? If your only focus is to seek pleasure, does it make you selfish?
Well, I think we all human in some point get to be selfish, and I mean it's like part of us. So yeah, maybe yeah, in some cases, but we can't. It's impossible to avoid being selfish. Basically, finding our own happiness without thinking about the others around us. So
okay,
it's hard.
So is there possible to have some type of balance between Puritanism and hedonism without being completely on one extreme or the other, but somewhere in the middle? Do you think that's possible? Yes? And what would it look like? Because remember, Puritanism is that you are evil and you are very lucky if God even wants to save you because you are no good. And then hedonism is just have pleasure, get happy, do whatever you want to do to avoid suffering and enjoy your life. What would be the middle ground between these two? Hello? So, yes, go ahead, Adrian.
Like, I feel like it's like hedonism is like the lack of self-consciousness. Like, you look for pleasure but you do not think of your own actions. Like, you have pleasure with this thing and then you move on and have pleasure with the next thing. Well, Puritanism is like thinking on your actions and mostly trying to be better all the time or one up in yourself. So like the middle ground should be like seeking pleasure but being conscious of how you're seeking pleasure and what is it doing to you. And that's like the most middle ground thing I can think of.
Yeah. What would be the danger of being a completely Puritan? What would be the danger in that mentality? Somebody just completely being into these 5 pillars and just living like that? Or do you think there's any danger in that? No? No danger? I'm the only one who sees danger in that? So Puritanism is good. Let's go be Puritans. Is that what you're saying? Oh, come on, people. Is there any danger in Puritanism?
I think everything that is extreme is like has to do with something dangerous. I mean, someone that has this very deep and you know, beliefs or some of some kind, probably they'll end trying to convince others to believe what they believe in, and maybe they will probably, you know, this, I don't know how to explain it, I don't know how to put it into words, but yeah, everything that's extreme is dangerous.
So what could be it may make it easier for you, but I get your point. What could be the danger in going through life thinking, I am no good, I am a dirt bag, I'm useless, I'm lucky if God wants to even look at me, I am dirty and horrible, I don't deserve to live. What benefit is there in going through life with that mentality? Is there any benefit? You see, some of you are doing like this, okay? So you don't find any benefit in being an extreme Puritan. Like you just completely depend on God being in a good mood. Because if God is in a bad mood,
Of course not. I would feel like in jail, trapped, pressed.
and yet, and yet, a lot of people,
What?
a lot, a
Sorry.
lot of people live like that. A lot of people live like that. A lot of people think it's a good thing to go through life saying, no sirvo, soy una basura, qué porquería de ser humano soy. A lot of people think that's okay. And probably you haven't met them because you're a teenager, but when you become an adult, you're going to hear a lot of people acting like that. Okay, so is there any danger in being totally hedonistic? Like, I'm only here to have fun. I don't care who gets killed, but I need to have fun. Is there any danger in that mentality?
Yes.
What's the danger?
I think if we look at this topic in another point, you being basically ignorant about the world, and you just are interested in what you like. It's okay that you can be interested in what you like, but be aware that you need to know about the world to survive, not your own world. I have this experience and it's awful because when I realized that I just stick to my word and did not try to understand others, I lose friends or I get kind of weird, I don't know, behaviors that in at the end of the relationship or the topic or something or the talk, I don't know how to, you know, get well with them, and I feel strange, like, okay, this is not working, this is not working. People are seeing me like I'm, you know, mandona, busy, bossy, and yeah, and I think that's well, a little bit the way that people, you know, I don't know how to.
Okay, so yeah, so my next question to you, ladies and gentlemen, what do you as a teenager need to do to stay focused, stay balanced, and not go from one extreme to the next?
Maybe do the things that you're not good at and do the things that you are good at, because when you're doing those things you can I don't know, you realize that okay, you're enough, but there are some things that you have not the power to control. And most people, because a lot of people think like, oh, my personality is great, and you know, I can be friends with anyone, and then we start like showing up and people around us are like, you look so ridiculous and why are you showing off, you know? And I think human beings are very sensible in any type of topic, even though we sometimes are like, oh no, I'm strong, those topics don't touch the bottom of my heart and feelings, but I think they do in some point because it's so sensitive.
I think one of the most important things that you as teenagers need to figure out in order to not end up in one extreme or the other, because time passes really quickly. A lot of people think like they're gonna be young, you're gonna be 13 or 15 or 19 forever, and you're not. So one of the most important things you can do is figure out your why. Figure out your why, your purpose. Why am I here? And when you're figuring out your purpose, you need to remember something very important. It's not going to be like your friend. Maybe your friend came to Earth to dance. Maybe your friend came to open businesses or to be a doctor or to build houses or to make cakes. Your why is different. And I think that as soon as you figure that out, it's going to be easier for you to not swing way into Puritanism, which is not useful at all. Because if you go through life thinking that you're no good, you're a garbage, you are going to act like garbage. And in the other extreme, where you think that everything is about having fun, because then you're not going to have any humanity and very little values. Because if the only thing you want to do is have fun, you're going to do whatever it takes to have fun. So probably the key is figuring out your why. Why am I here? Because we're all here for something, but we're not all here for the same thing. What happens with society is that we start thinking that, oh, the only purpose has to be, I need to be an architect, I need to be a doctor, I need to discover the cure for COVID-25, because there's going to be one. And we get all caught up in all these weird ideas of what other people think that we should be. And very few times we sit down with ourselves and say, you know what? I want to bake cupcakes. I think that's what I'm here for. And that's perfectly okay, because cupcakes make people happy. And they make me happy. When you are able to figure out why you are here, you keep from making the same dumb mistakes that human beings have been making throughout history. If we go back to Dorian Gray, do you think that Dorian ever figured out his why? Why was he even alive? Do you think so? No. And so he was so pretty, and they told him, oh, you're so pretty. And they told him, you got to enjoy life because you're so pretty. And he just took that and like, okay, yeah, I'm going to do that, because he had no idea who he was. So last question before you go, because I am hungry. Last question. People, at what age do you think you start figuring out your why? Yesterday, one of my former students, who's probably in her 40s now, she posted something on social media that said, if you, no, what did it say? It said something like, are you what you used to dream you wanted to be when you were a kid? Or if you were the thing that you wanted to be when you were a kid, what would you be? Something like that. So everybody's like, oh, yo quería ser cantante. Oh, yo quería ser actriz. Oh, no, yo quería ser, nobody was whatever they had dreamed they wanted to be. And you know what? I'm probably the only person that answered, and I said, I'm exactly what I wanted to be. Boring, I know, but whatever. But what happens is that if you have these dreams when you're a kid, and you let other people tell you, oh, that's no good, eso no da plata, that's, and change your mind, when you hit 30, 35, 40, you're going to start looking back and feeling regret because you didn't do what you wanted to do. And that's no way to live. So at what age do you think people need to start figuring out their why? Oh, and another thing, you can be like 10 different things. You don't have to be like, oh, I'm going to study medicine and stick to that for 75 years. No. You can be a doctor and then decide, hey, I want to be a lawyer, and then say, hey, I want to make movies. That's perfectly okay. So yeah, at what age do you think people need to start figuring out their why? Five, 6, 8, 17, 25?
10.
10? Come on, tell me an age. See, I'm not going to ask you if you already know your why, because it's okay if you don't. It's perfectly okay if you don't. So, but when do you think you should have a clear idea? More or less, how old do you think you should be? to have an idea. And the idea might not even be clear. Oh, you have no idea when you should have an idea?
15.
When should you have an idea of your why? When should you have this idea? Hopefully before you go to the university, because then you're going to spend 4 or 5 years studying something that's, which happens to a lot of people. Okay, that's it, folks. Figure it out. Figure it out quickly. And I'm going to give you one last hint. If you don't know yet what it is that you want to do for the rest of your life, think about when you were 7 years old. That was recently for most of you, so you can remember that. What was the thing that gave you the most happiness when you were 7 years old? That's probably the thing that you want to be doing for a good part of your life. Maybe not the rest of your life, but a good part. So if you can go back to being 7 years old and remember the games that you loved, the things you used to dream of, the things that you thought were exciting, your answer is probably in that. And don't let anybody take away your dream from you. If when you were 7, you wanted to be a singer and you can actually sing, why not? Go do it. If when you were 7 years old, you wanted to be a writer or a filmmaker or, I don't know, a cupcake expert, whatever, that is probably the thing that you want to start with because that's when you were your most authentic. After 7 years old, between 7 and 14, after 14, you're contaminated by everybody's opinion. So go back to that moment, focus on it, and figure it out. And you need to have your why. Because if you don't, you're going to end up in one side, hating yourself because you think you're no good, or on the other side, thinking that you only came here to have fun, no matter what it takes. Okay, so remember number 4 in your outline. Scratch that out and start working on your short films. Hasta la vista. Bye.